The morning started with rain tapping gently against the window. Laura stood by the kitchen counter, holding a cup of coffee she'd barely touched. Her house felt quiet, too quiet. Ever since her husband, Mark, passed away 5 years ago, mornings like these were hard. The silence reminded her of what she'd lost, and of how her life had turned into routine. Work, bills, cooking, sleep. Over time, she stopped thinking about herself and only focused on raising her son, Ethan. Ethan was 21 now, in college studying architecture, and still living at home in Portland. He had always been a kind, thoughtful boy, the type who'd make sure his mom ate dinner, who fixed small things around the house, who filled the space Mark left behind with laughter and care. But lately, something between them had changed. Laura didn't know what to call it, but she could feel it. A strange distance mixed with something else. Something she didn't want to think too deeply about. When Ethan came down the stairs that morning, his hair messy and eyes tired, Laura smiled softly. "Morning," she said. "Morning," he replied, watching her quietly for a moment. "Can we talk?" His tone made her heart tighten. She nodded, setting down her mug. "Of course. I feel like you've been avoiding me," he said, his voice calm but serious. "You hardly talk anymore. You come home late, and when I try to spend time with you, you pull away." She sighed, looking down. He wasn't wrong. "I'm sorry," she said gently. "It's not you, Ethan, it's me. I think I've been lost. You're growing up. I guess I'm learning how to let go." He frowned. "Let go of what?" "Mom, I'm still here. I just want things to feel normal again." But nothing felt normal anymore. Laura didn't say it, but she could see how much Ethan had changed. He was no longer the boy she tucked in at night. He was a man now, taller than her, thoughtful, independent. He spoke with a confidence that reminded her of Mark. And sometimes, when he looked at her, she felt something confusing. Pride, sadness, and a strange ache she didn't know how to name. That evening, a storm rolled in. The power flickered off and the house glowed in the warm light of candles. They sat together at the table eating takeout, the rain pouring outside. Ethan looked across at her, a faint smile on his lips. "Remember when Dad used to do this?" he asked. Laura smiled. "He'd tell the worst ghost stories." Ethan laughed, and for a moment, the heaviness between them disappeared. But then their eyes met again, and the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of things neither dared to say. Laura looked away, feeling her heart race for reasons she didn't understand. "I think I'll check the fuse box," she said, standing quickly. But before she could move, Ethan reached out and took her hand. "Mom," he said softly, "I didn't mean to make things weird. I care about you. You're all I have." Her breath caught. His hand was warm, steady. For a second, time seemed to stop. Then she gently pulled her hand away. "I know, honey," she said quietly. "And I love you. But sometimes love needs space. We can't live in the past forever." He nodded slowly, his eyes down. "I just want you to be happy again." That night, after Ethan went to bed, Laura sat by the window listening to the rain fade into silence. She realized her son wasn't crossing a boundary out of disrespect. He was trying to hold on to the only person who made him feel safe. And she was guilty of doing the same. They had built their lives around each other for so long that they forgot to live for themselves. The next morning, sunlight replaced the storm. The sky was bright and new, and so was the air inside the house. Laura made breakfast quietly while Ethan packed for class. When he turned to leave, he gave her a small smile. "See you tonight?" "Yeah," she said. "Drive safe." When the door closed, Laura felt something shift inside her. Not sadness, but release. Maybe this was what healing looked like. Not forgetting, but learning to let love change shape. Later that week, she signed up for an evening art class at the community center. It felt strange walking into a room full of strangers with paintbrushes and canvas, but freeing too. She hadn't painted since college, back before she met Mark. The first time she held the brush again, her hands trembled, but the color on the canvas brought something back to life in her. As weeks passed, Laura started smiling more. She met new people, including a friendly man named David who taught photography. He was kind, gentle, and easy to talk to. They often shared coffee after class, talking about books and old movies. For the first time in years, Laura felt a lightness she thought she'd lost forever. Ethan noticed the change immediately. One evening, when he came home early, he saw her sitting by the window, painting as soft music played. The golden light touched her face, and she looked peaceful. Not the tired, quiet mother he'd worried about for so long. "You look happy, Mom," he said. She turned and smiled, setting down her brush. "I am, sweetheart. Life's starting to feel new again." He nodded, and for the first time in months, he felt relieved. She wasn't slipping away from him. She was finally stepping back into herself. As the days went on, their relationship changed, but in a healthy way. Ethan spent more time with his friends, focused on his projects, and Laura encouraged him without hovering. They still had dinners together, still shared laughs, but now there was space between them. The kind that lets love breathe instead of suffocating it. One night, they sat outside on the porch watching the stars. "You were right," Ethan said quietly. "Sometimes love does need space." Laura looked at him, her eyes soft. "It does, but space doesn't mean distance. It just means we're learning to live again." He smiled, and she reached over, squeezing his hand gently. There were no heavy words left between them, just a quiet understanding that life moves forward, and love, no matter its form, remains. That day, the line that had been crossed wasn't about right or wrong. It was about realizing how easy it is to get lost in grief, in memories, in the comfort of someone who understands your pain. But crossing that line helped both of them grow. It reminded Laura that love can't stay frozen in time. It has to evolve, just like people do. By the time spring arrived, their home was filled with laughter again. Laura painted on weekends. Ethan planned to move into an apartment near his university, and the world that once felt heavy was light once more. Standing by the window one morning, watching her son drive away, Laura smiled. Life had changed, and so had she. The past still lived in her heart, but it no longer held her captive. The day her son crossed the line wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning of everything that followed. It was the day they both learned that love, when given space, can heal what grief once broke.